Lisa Martinez stared at the eviction notice taped to her apartment door. The red letters seemed to burn into her eyes. 3 days. She had 3 days to come up with $800 or she and Danny would be sleeping in her old car. She pulled the crumpled paper from the door and walked inside their small apartment. Danny sat at the kitchen table doing his homework. His inhaler lay next to his math book. The boy looked so thin. Too thin. The medicine he needed cost more than Lisa made in a week at both her jobs. "Mom, are you okay?" Danny asked without looking up from his papers. Lisa forced a smile. "Everything is fine, baby, just some mail." But everything was not fine. Lisa worked at a diner from 6 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon. Then she cleaned offices from 4 until midnight. She barely slept. Her body hurt all the time, and still it was not enough money. Danny started coughing. The sound made Lisa's heart break. His rare lung condition was getting worse. The doctor said he needed a new treatment. It would cost $3,000. Lisa might as well ask for $3 million. She sat on the couch and pulled out her phone. Her hands shook as she scrolled through her contacts. There was only one person who might help. Her sister, Maria. They had not talked in 2 years, not since their big fight about money. But Danny was dying slowly, and Lisa had no pride left. Lisa typed the message with tears in her eyes. "Please, I know we haven't talked, but Danny needs his medicine, and we're about to lose our apartment. Can you help with $800? I'll pay you back somehow." She hit send before she could change her mind. 50 miles away in his glass office high above Phoenix, Alexander Kane was having the worst day of his life. His company's stock had dropped 15%. 3 of his best scientists had quit to work for his biggest rival, and his ex-wife was demanding more money for their divorce settlement. Kane built Nextech Industries from nothing. He grew up in foster homes, sleeping on floors and eating scraps. Now he was worth $12 billion. But money could not fix his loneliness or make people like him for who he was instead of what he owned. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Kane almost deleted it without reading. He got hundreds of scam messages every day. People asking for money, claiming to be long-lost relatives, or trying to sell him fake investment deals. But something made him read this one. The message was different. It did not sound fake. The person seemed truly desperate. Kane had his assistant run a background check on the phone number. What he found surprised him. Lisa Martinez, age 28. Single mother, no criminal record, worked 2 jobs. Her son had a rare medical condition. She had never asked for government help or charity. She paid her bills on time until 6 months ago when her son got sicker. Kane studied her photo on social media. She looked tired but kind. Her posts were all about her son. Pictures of him at school, doing homework, playing in the park. A mother who loved her child more than anything in the world. It reminded Kane of Mrs. Rodriguez, his foster mother, when he was 8 years old. She was the only person who ever showed him real kindness. She died when Kane was 10, and he never forgot how she made him feel safe and loved. Kane stared at Lisa's message for a long time. He could ignore it. He could block the number. He could pretend he never saw it. That is what most people would do. That is what the old Kane would have done. But something inside him had changed. Maybe it was turning 40 last month. Maybe it was the divorce making him think about what really mattered. Maybe it was just being tired of being alone in his perfect, empty life. Kane picked up his phone and called his head of security. "Frank, I need you to run a full background check on someone, and then I need you to drive me somewhere." An hour later, Kane sat in the back of his black SUV looking at a rundown apartment building. The paint was peeling. Half the windows were cracked. Kids played in the dirt parking lot because there was no grass. Kane had not been in a neighborhood like this since he was a child. It brought back memories he tried to forget. The smell of cheap food cooking, the sound of people arguing through thin walls, the feeling of never having enough of anything. "Sir, are you sure about this?" Frank asked from the driver's seat. Kane was not sure about anything. He was a billionaire about to knock on a stranger's door because of a text message sent by mistake. It was crazy. But Kane had built his fortune by taking risks when everyone else said he was crazy. "Wait here, Frank. This might take a while. Kane walked up the concrete stairs to apartment 2B. He could hear a child coughing inside. The cough sounded bad, like the kid could barely breathe. Kane knocked on the door. Inside the apartment, Lisa froze. Nobody ever visited, except the landlord, when she was late with rent. She looked through the peephole and saw a man in an expensive suit. 2 other men in suits stood behind him. Her first thought was that Danny's father had sent lawyers to take him away. Her second thought was that someone had found out about the text she sent to Maria. "Who is it?" she called through the door. "My name is Alexander Kane. I think you sent me a text message by mistake." Lisa's blood turned cold. She had sent the message to the wrong number. Some stranger had her desperate plea for help. She wanted to hide under her bed and never come out. But Danny was still coughing, and they still had 3 days to find $800 or lose their home. Lisa opened the door. Lisa stared at the man in the expensive suit. He was tall with dark hair and serious eyes. She could see 2 more men behind him. They looked like bodyguards from movies. "I'm sorry," Lisa said quickly. "I sent that text to the wrong person. I was trying to reach my sister. Please don't call the police." Kane studied her face. She looked exactly like her photos, but even more tired. Her clothes were clean but old. Her hands were rough from hard work. Behind her, he could hear the child, coughing again. "I'm not calling the police," Kane said softly. "Can we talk?" Lisa wanted to close the door and pretend this never happened, but something in his voice made her pause. He did not sound angry or mean. He sounded curious. "Danny, go to your room," Lisa called over her shoulder. "But Mom, I'm doing homework," a small voice replied. "Take it with you, we have a visitor." Lisa heard her son's footsteps and the bedroom door closing. She stepped outside and pulled her apartment door shut behind her. "Look, I'm really sorry about the text," she said. "I know it was stupid. I was just desperate and I made a mistake with the number." Kane nodded. "What's wrong with your son?" The question surprised Lisa. Most people did not care about the details of her problems. He has something called alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency. It makes it hard for him to breathe. His lungs are getting worse. The medicine he needs costs a lot of money. "How much?" Lisa looked down at her feet. $3,000 for the treatment, $800 just to keep our apartment. Kane was quiet for a long moment. "Can I meet him?" "What?" "Your son. Danny. Can I meet him?" Lisa could not understand why this rich stranger wanted to meet her sick child, but she had nothing left to lose. "Okay, but please don't scare him." They went back inside the small apartment. Kane looked around. The furniture was old but clean. Children's drawings covered the refrigerator. Math books and papers were spread across the kitchen table. "Danny, can you come out here, please?" Lisa called. The bedroom door opened slowly. A thin boy with big brown eyes peeked out. He walked toward them carefully, staying close to his mother. "Danny, this is Mr. Kane," Lisa said. "Hi," Danny said in a small voice. Then he started coughing again. The sound was wet and painful. Kane knelt down to be at the boy's eye level. "Hi, Danny. What are you working on for homework?" Danny pointed to the kitchen table. "Math problems, and a science report about space." "Space? What kind of space?" Danny's eyes lit up despite his coughing. "Black holes and stars and planets. Did you know that some stars are so big they could fit 1,000,000 Earths inside them?" Kane smiled. It was the first real smile he had felt in weeks. "I did know that. Do you want to be an astronaut?" "Maybe. Or a scientist. Mom says I'm good at figuring things out." Kane looked at Lisa. She was watching her son with love and pride, even though worry filled her eyes. "Danny, can you show me your science report?" Kane asked. For the next 20 minutes, Danny talked about planets and rockets and aliens. His knowledge amazed Kane. The boy had read every book about space in the school library. He asked questions that even Kane's top scientist would find interesting. "How do you think we could travel to other stars?" Kane asked. Danny thought hard. "Maybe we need to fold space like a piece of paper. Then the far places become close places." Kane stared at the 8-year-old boy. That was exactly the theory his quantum physics team was working on. How could a sick child with no formal training understand concepts that puzzled PhD scientists? Danny, go finish your homework, Lisa said. Mr. Kane and I need to talk. After Danny went back to his room, Kane and Lisa sat at the kitchen table. He's brilliant, Kane said. Lisa nodded. The doctors say his brain works differently because of his condition. He sees patterns other people miss. But what good does it do if he can't breathe? Kane pulled out his checkbook. I'm going to help you. I can't take charity, Lisa said quickly. I work for everything we have. It's not charity. I have a job offer. Lisa laughed, but it sounded bitter. What job could I possibly do for a billionaire? I clean toilets and serve coffee. Kane leaned forward. I run a technology company. We solve problems that seem impossible. But lately, my smartest people have been stuck. They think too much alike. They all went to the same schools, read the same books, think the same way. So maybe we need someone who thinks differently. Someone who sees patterns others miss. Someone who has had to solve problems with no money and no help. Lisa shook her head. I don't know anything about technology. But you know about making something from nothing. You know about finding solutions when everything seems hopeless. That's what we need. Kane wrote a check and slid it across the table. Lisa's eyes widened when she saw the amount. $20,000. This covers Danny's treatment and your rent for a year, Kane said. In return, you work with my research team 3 days a week. You look at problems they can't solve and tell us what you see. This is crazy, Lisa whispered. Maybe. But the best ideas usually sound crazy at first. Lisa stared at the check. It was more money than she had ever seen. It could save Danny's life. But it felt too good to be true. Why are you doing this? She asked. Kane was quiet for a moment. When I was young, someone helped me when they didn't have to. She changed my life. Maybe it's time I did the same for someone else. Lisa picked up the check with shaking hands. What if I'm not smart enough? What if I disappoint you? Then we'll figure it out together, Kane said. From the bedroom came the sound of Danny coughing, but also the sound of him humming while he worked on his homework. It was the sound of a child who still had hope despite everything. Lisa looked at Kane and made her decision. When do I start? 3 months after the accidental text message, Lisa's life had changed completely. She now worked at Nextech Industries 3 days a week, helping Kane's team solve problems they could not figure out. Danny's breathing was much better thanks to his new medicine. He spent his afternoons at the lab, asking questions that made the scientists think in new ways. Lisa sat in the bright meeting room looking at computer screens full of numbers and diagrams. The scientists were excited about something they called quantum consciousness transfer. Lisa did not understand all the big words, but she understood the basic idea. They wanted to move thoughts and memories from one place to another instantly, across huge distances. The problem is stability, Dr. Kim explained. We can transfer simple data, but complex consciousness patterns fall apart during the process. Lisa studied the swirling patterns on the screen. They reminded her of something, but she could not place what. It looks like a fight, she said suddenly. The scientists looked confused. What do you mean? Dr. Kim asked. Like when two people care about each other but they're angry. They want to stay connected, but they keep pushing each other away at the same time. The pattern breaks because it's trying to do two opposite things. Kane leaned forward. Go on. What if you don't fight the pushing away part? What if you let it happen, but create little bridges that snap back together after the push? Dr. Kim's eyes widened. Quantum entanglement bridges with elastic recovery protocols, that's brilliant. While the scientists worked on Lisa's idea, Danny played with a small device Kane had given him. It was supposed to measure brain waves, but Danny had taken it apart and put it back together differently. Now it made pretty lights that danced when people were happy. Mr. Kane, Danny said, looking up from his device. Why are there no people from other planets here? Kane smiled. What makes you think there are people on other planets? There has to be. Space is too big for Earth to be the only place with people. Maybe they just don't want to talk to us yet. Far above Earth's atmosphere, Commander Zeph-9 of the Vorthon Empire sat in his monitoring station. His reptilian skin was green and scaly, and his large eyes could see things humans could not. For 60 years he had watched Earth and the strange creatures called humans. The Galactic Trade Consortium had decided long ago that humans were too chaotic and emotional to join their civilized society. Humans fought wars, made decisions based on feelings instead of facts, and wasted resources helping weak members of their species. They were primitive and unpredictable. But today Zeph-9's instruments detected something impossible. The quantum signatures coming from Earth were solving problems that had puzzled the galaxy's best minds for thousands of years. Somehow these primitive humans had cracked quantum consciousness transfer. Zeph-9 sent an urgent message to the consortium headquarters. Within hours he received new orders. A diplomatic team would come to Earth for limited contact. They needed to understand how humans had achieved this breakthrough. 2 days later, a small ship landed in the Nevada desert at night. Ambassador Click 7, an insect-like being with 6 arms and large compound eyes, led the team. They had studied human languages and customs, but they found human behavior confusing and wasteful. Ambassador Click 7 sent a message to the world's governments, requesting a meeting with Earth's primary consciousness researchers. The message was forwarded to several universities and companies, including Nextech Industries. Kane stared at the message on his computer screen. It claimed to be from aliens. Normally, he would delete it as a joke. But the message contained detailed information about quantum consciousness research that only his team knew. "This has to be fake," Dr. Kim said. "Aliens don't exist." Lisa looked at the message. "Danny said yesterday that aliens probably exist but don't want to talk to us yet." What if he was right? Kane made a decision that surprised everyone. "Let's respond. If it's fake, we'll know soon enough. If it's real, we need to be ready." The meeting was arranged for the next evening at a secure location outside the city. Kane brought his core team, including Lisa and Danny. Lisa was nervous about bringing her son, but Danny had been part of their breakthrough. It seemed wrong to leave him out now. The aliens arrived in a small silver craft that made no sound. 3 beings stepped out. Ambassador Click 7 looked like a giant praying mantis wearing a translator device. The other 2 were different species. Lisa could not identify. "Greetings, human consciousness researchers," Ambassador Click 7 said through the translator. The voice sounded like a computer trying to be polite. "We represent the Galactic Trade Consortium. We wish to understand your recent quantum consciousness achievements." Kane stepped forward. "I'm Alexander Kane, CEO of Nextech Industries. These are my research partners." Ambassador Click 7's large eyes focused on Lisa. "This female appears to lack proper scientific credentials. Why is she present at this important meeting?" "Because she helped us solve the problems you're asking about," Kane said firmly. The alien seemed confused. "But she is resource-limited with offspring dependency. How can such an inefficient individual contribute to advanced research?" Lisa felt her face getting hot. She had dealt with people looking down on her for being poor and a single mother, but this alien was treating her like she was stupid. "Maybe the problem is that you think helping people is inefficient," Lisa said. Ambassador Click 7 tilted his head. "Explain this statement." "You said I'm inefficient because I have a child to take care of. But taking care of Danny is why I got good at solving problems with no resources. It's why I think differently than people who have everything they need." Danny stepped forward, not scared of the strange aliens at all. "Are you sad?" he asked. Ambassador Click 7. The question clearly confused the alien. "Sad is an inefficient emotional state. We do not experience such wasteful feelings." "But you look sad," Danny insisted. "Like you forgot how to be happy." Ambassador Click 7 looked at his companions, then back at the small human child. In all, their studies of human behavior, no one had ever asked if they were sad. The question was illogical and irrelevant, so why did it make him feel something he could not name? "We do not understand the purpose of happiness," Ambassador Click 7 said, carefully. Our society operates on logic and efficiency. Emotional responses were eliminated long ago as counterproductive. Lisa looked at the aliens with new understanding. That's why you can't solve the consciousness transfer problem. You took out the part that makes consciousness work. What do you mean? Ambassador Click 7 asked. Consciousness isn't just thoughts and memories. It's feelings and dreams and the crazy things that don't make sense. You can't transfer a consciousness without the mess that makes it alive. Kane watched the aliens processing Lisa's words. For the first time since contact began, they looked uncertain. Their perfectly logical society might be missing something crucial, something that only humans seem to understand. Ambassador Click 7 stood very still for a long moment. His compound eyes reflected the lights of the meeting room as he processed what Lisa had said. Finally, he spoke through his translator. We must share something with you. Our galaxy faces a threat we cannot understand or stop. We came to Earth hoping your consciousness research might help us. Kane leaned forward. What kind of threat? We call it the silence. It spreads from star system to star system, shutting down entire civilizations. When it reaches a planet, all the people fall into a deep sleep they never wake up from. Their cities keep running, but the people just lie there breathing but not living. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. How many worlds has it destroyed? 47 so far. The most advanced civilizations fall first. The Zephyrian Empire lasted only 3 days. The Quantum Collective fell in hours. Each world we lose makes the silence stronger. Dr. Kim pulled up a holographic display. Can you show us the pattern of how it spreads? Ambassador Click 7 activated a device on his wrist. The air above the table filled with a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. Red dots marked the dead worlds. Lisa studied the pattern, trying to see what others might have missed. It's not random, she said after a few minutes. Look, it's following the trade routes, but not the busy ones. It's taking the most organized paths, the most efficient ones. That is correct, Ambassador Click 7 confirmed. It targets our most logical and well-ordered societies first. We believed this was coincidence. Danny had been quiet, playing with his modified brainwave device. Suddenly he looked up. What if it's not trying to hurt people? What if it's trying to fix something? The aliens looked at the small boy with confusion. Explain, Ambassador, Click 7 demanded. Danny thought for a moment the way he did when working on hard math problems. Like when I get sick and my body makes fever to fight the bad germs. The fever feels bad, but it's actually helping. Maybe the silence is like that. Kane stared at his young friend. You think the silence is some kind of immune response? Maybe. Mom always says that if something is too clean, it gets weak. Like when she cleans the apartment with too much soap, the plants start dying because they need some dirt to grow. Lisa understood what her son was suggesting. Danny's right. In nature, systems that are too perfect become weak. They can't handle any changes. What if the silence only affects civilizations that became too organized, too predictable? Ambassador Click 7's head tilted in that way insects do when they are confused. You suggest that perfection is weakness? Not perfection, Lisa said. But maybe there's such a thing as too much order. Like if you make everything run exactly the same way all the time, you lose the ability to handle new problems. Dr. Kim was typing rapidly on his computer. I'm running simulations based on the data Ambassador Click 7 provided. If Lisa is right, the silence should not be able to affect chaotic systems. Systems with built-in randomness. The results appeared on the screen minutes later. The computer model showed that the silence could predict and disrupt any system that followed perfect patterns. But chaotic systems with random elements, were much harder for it to affect. This is impossible, Ambassador Click 7 said. Chaos is inefficient. Random elements waste resources and create problems. But they also create solutions, Kane said, understanding dawning on his face. Lisa solved our consciousness transfer problem by thinking randomly, not logically. Danny asked questions that seem silly but lead to breakthroughs. Randomness isn't waste, it's creativity. Lisa looked at the map of dead worlds again. An idea was forming in her mind, but it was so crazy she almost didn't want to say it. What if we could teach the silence-affected worlds to be a little chaotic? She asked. Not destroy their order, but add some randomness back in? That would be extremely dangerous, Ambassador Click 7 said. Introducing chaos into ordered systems could destroy them completely. Or it could save them, Kane said. Lisa, what are you thinking? Lisa stood up and began pacing, the way she did when she was working through a hard problem. The silence affects minds, right? It makes people fall asleep because their thoughts become too predictable. But what if we could wake them up by giving them unpredictable thoughts? Danny was fiddling with his device again. Suddenly it began making new patterns of light, more complex than before. The light seemed to dance with no clear pattern, but they were beautiful to watch. Danny, what did you do to that thing? Dr. Kim asked. I made it show happy thoughts, Danny said simply. But I made it so the happy thoughts are always different, never the same twice. Kane took the device and studied it. The readings showed brainwave patterns that were completely chaotic but somehow still harmonious. It was like music with no set rhythm that still sounded perfect. This is it, Kane whispered. This is how we fight the silence. Ambassador Click 7 moved closer to examine the device. Explain how this small machine could stop a galaxy-wide threat. Lisa smiled, the same smile she got when she figured out how to pay bills with no money or make dinner from almost nothing. We don't fight the silence directly. We teach people how to think in ways it can't predict. We show them how to be organized and chaotic at the same time. Controlled chaos, Dr. Kim said, excitement growing in his voice. Order with random elements built in, like jazz music or improvisational art. But how do we implement this across entire civilizations? Ambassador Click 7 asked. How do we change the way billions of beings think? Kane looked at Lisa and Danny, then at the alien ambassador. The same way it started here. One person helping another person, not because it makes logical sense, but because it feels right. Ambassador Click 7 was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. You are asking us to trust in inefficiency, to value emotional decisions over logical ones. This goes against everything our civilization has built. I'm asking you to trust that sometimes the best solutions come from the most unlikely places, Lisa said. Like a desperate mother texting the wrong number and accidentally saving the galaxy. Danny looked up from his device, which was now creating patterns so complex and beautiful that everyone in the room was mesmerized by them. Can we try it on one world first? Danny asked, just to see if it works. Ambassador Click 7 looked at his companions, then back at the humans who had somehow found hope in the face of galactic destruction. There is one world, he said slowly. Synthos Prime. The silence reached it yesterday. The population fell into the deep sleep just hours ago. If your theory is correct, if controlled chaos can wake them up, it would be the perfect test. Lisa felt her heart racing. Everything she had learned about solving impossible problems was about to be tested on a scale she never imagined. When do we leave? She asked. The journey to Synthos Prime took 2 days on the consortium's fastest ship. Lisa had never been in space before. She pressed her face against the window, watching stars streak by like silver ribbons. Danny was even more excited, asking the alien crew endless questions about how their ship worked. The hyperdrive uses quantum fold equations, the pilot explained patiently. We calculate the exact mathematical relationship between 2 points in space and create a bridge. But what if you get the math wrong? Danny asked. The pilot's 4 eyes blinked in confusion. We do not get the math wrong. The equations are perfect. There is only one correct way to travel between stars. Danny frowned. That sounds boring. What if there are fun ways to travel that you haven't discovered yet because you only try the perfect way? Lisa smiled at her son's question. Even in space, surrounded by technology beyond her understanding, Danny was still thinking like a human child, still finding wonder and possibilities instead of just accepting what was. Ambassador Click 7 approached them as the ship prepared to exit hyperspace. You should know what we will find on Synthos Prime. The Synthosians are crystalline beings. They built their entire civilization around mathematical perfection. Every building, every road, every thought follows precise geometric patterns. And now they're all asleep because they were too perfect? Lisa asked. Yes. The silence reached them 36 hours ago. Our sensors show that all 12 billion Synthosians fell into the deep sleep within minutes of contact. The ship dropped out of hyperspace near a planet that looked like a giant jewel. Synthos Prime was covered in crystal cities that formed perfect geometric shapes. From space, the entire world looked like one enormous mathematical equation made visible. It's beautiful, Lisa whispered. And completely dead, Ambassador Click 7 said sadly. No communication, no movement, no sign of conscious life. They landed in the capital city's main plaza. The Synthosian buildings were made of living crystal that changed color based on the thoughts of the inhabitants. Now all the crystals were gray, dull, and lifeless. Kane's team set up their equipment while Lisa and Danny explored the empty streets. The Synthosians lay everywhere, looking like sleeping glass statues. They were still breathing, but their eyes were closed and they did not respond to any sounds or touch. "Mom, they look so sad," Danny said, kneeling next to a young Synthosian child. "Even sleeping, they look like they forgot how to be happy." Lisa studied the sleeping figures. Their faces were peaceful but empty, like dolls that had never learned to smile. "Danny, try your device on them," she suggested. Danny activated his modified brainwave reader. The chaotic patterns of light and color began dancing in the air above the sleeping Synthosians. For a moment, nothing happened. Then one of the crystals in a nearby building flickered with a tiny spark of blue light. "Did you see that?" Kane called from across the plaza. There was a response. Dr. Kim checked his instruments. Minimal brain activity increase in the subjects within 50 meters of Danny's device. But it's not enough to wake them up. Lisa sat down next to the sleeping Synthosian child. She thought about what had made the difference back on Earth. It wasn't just the technology or the random patterns. It was the human connection, the willingness to help someone else even when it didn't make logical sense. "We need more than just random patterns," Lisa said. "We need to show them what it feels like to be chaotic and caring at the same time." Kane understood immediately. The consciousness transfer device. We can share human thoughts and emotions directly with them. But that's never been tested on alien minds, Dr. Kim protested. It could damage them permanently. "Or it could save them," Lisa said. "And if we don't try, they'll stay asleep forever anyway." Ambassador Click 7 was reluctant to approve such a dangerous experiment. But as they debated, more consortium ships arrived with reports of 3 more worlds falling to the silence. Time was running out for the entire galaxy. "Do it," he finally agreed. "But start with just one subject." Kane modified the consciousness transfer device to work with Danny's chaotic pattern generator. Lisa volunteered to be the first human to share her thoughts with a Synthosian. She placed her hand on the crystal forehead of the sleeping child. The device hummed to life. And suddenly, Lisa felt her mind touching something completely alien, yet somehow familiar. The young Synthosian's thoughts were like perfect crystal formations, beautiful but cold. Lisa shared her memories of Danny's first laugh, of late nights worrying about bills, of the joy she felt when Kane offered to help them. She shared the messy, imperfect, wonderful chaos of being human. The crystal child's eyes opened. They were large and multifaceted like jewels, but for the first time in centuries, they showed confusion, wonder, and something that might have been curiosity. "I don't understand," the child said in a voice like musical chimes. "You worry about things you cannot control. You make decisions based on feelings that serve no logical purpose. Why does this feel good?" Lisa laughed, and the sound made crystals throughout the plaza begin to glow with warm colors. "Because life isn't supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be interesting." More Synthosians began to wake as Lisa's laughter echoed through the city. The crystal buildings started changing colors randomly, creating patterns that were chaotic but beautiful. For the first time in their civilization's history, the Synthosians were experiencing controlled chaos. Danny ran to the newly awakened child and immediately began showing her how to play a simple game of tag. The concept was completely foreign to Synthosian culture, but the child found herself running and laughing despite having no logical reason to do so. "This is inefficient," the child said, but she was smiling as she said it. "That's what makes it fun," Danny replied. Within hours, the awakening spread across the entire planet. The Synthosians didn't abandon their love of order and mathematics. Instead, they learned to add touches of beautiful randomness to their perfect patterns. Their crystal cities began displaying impossible colors and shapes that somehow made perfect sense. Ambassador Click 7 watched in amazement as his instruments confirmed that the silence was retreating from Synthos Prime. The chaotic patterns of human emotion, mixed with Synthosian logic, created something the silence couldn't predict or control. "It's working," he said with wonder in his electronic voice. "The combination of order and chaos is driving the silence away." Kane put his arm around Lisa as they watched Danny teaching a group of young Synthosians how to play hide and seek. The crystal children were terrible at hiding because they glowed when they were excited, but they were having more fun than their species had experienced in thousands of years. "We did it," Lisa said softly. "We actually saved them." "We saved more than just them," Kane replied. "We found a way to save the galaxy." Ambassador Click 7 approached them with news from the consortium fleet. 17 worlds have reported success using your chaos integration protocols. The silence is retreating from every system where we've introduced controlled randomness. Lisa smiled as she watched her son teaching aliens how to play. Sometimes the most logical thing to do is to be a little illogical. The consortium will need human advisors on every world, Ambassador Click 7 said. "Teachers who can show other species how to balance order with chaos. Will you help us?" Lisa looked at Kane, then at Danny, who was now surrounded by glowing crystal children all trying to learn how to laugh like humans. "We'll help," she said, "but we do it our way. With kindness, not just logic. With heart, not just minds." Ambassador Click 7 nodded, and for the first time since they'd met him, his translator made a sound that might have been laughter. "I think," he said, "we are finally ready to learn what it means to be truly alive." As the sun set over Synthos Prime, the crystal cities sparkled with random, beautiful patterns of light. The galaxy had found its balance at last, mixing perfect order with imperfect, wonderful chaos. And it all started with a desperate mother's text message sent to the wrong number by mistake.